cherries, if you eat it prophylactically, can help reduce that cascade and help reduce the episodes of gouty attacks. Hi friends! Behind me are 2 bags full of anti-inflammatory food. One bag is what I usually eat, and I have a second bag for my children. I have 2 kids who are so busy with their lives that they don't have time to eat the way I eat. So I've been thinking hard of substitutes because they really, like I have to make it the least amount of effort for them to eat it easily or to at least access the nutrients. Let me break it down for you. I'm going to show you why I eat what I eat on a daily basis. Okay, so I just went shopping today and I bought a pack of ginger. Now, ginger has so many different anti-inflammatory compounds. It's something that I grew up with. Honestly, I don't even like the taste of it. However, I have learned that this has so many nutrients in here that are beneficial for our immune system. It decreases inflammation enough so that I feel better, but it doesn't wipe out all inflammation. I talk about being anti-inflammatory, but really inflammation is a balance. If you have too much, you just feel really bad. And if you don't have any, you're not going to feel anything because you're not going to be able to survive, right? So it's a balance that is supportive for life. And ginger is an ancient herb. And really, I eat it as a food. I drink it as a beverage. So sometimes what I'll do is I'll take one of these. I'll scrub this really well. So this isn't scrubbed, but I'll take one of these little, like a piece of it. I like the skin because the skin contains a lot of fiber as well as nutrients. So I scrub it to make sure I get all the dirt off, but I will keep the skin on. And then I will just put this in a blender and blend it with some carrots, maybe some dates, put a little bit of vinegar, miso, and that is like a delicious dressing. You can add some green onions. You can do whatever you want. You can just take this and put it in water. So my dad, it seemed like he would take this whole box and boil it in water. And then he would serve that to me as a tea every time I came home with a sore throat. I was always afraid to tell him I had a sore throat because I knew he would make me drink ginger tea. He would make me drink it and then send me to school. Miraculously, I actually had perfect attendance throughout my elementary, junior high, and high school years. The only time I skipped class was in college when I didn't find that my class was very productive and I would rather sleep. But otherwise, I did this whenever I didn't feel well and I was forced to. I wasn't allowed to leave the table unless I finished my ginger tea. As an adult, I actually stopped eating ginger when I was in college, and that's when I had like my worst allergies. It was just horrible. I would go to chemistry lab with like literally a box of Kleenex, and then I would try to do lab with one hand because my nose was dripping. Ultimately, I realized it was my diet, right? I didn't figure that out in college. It took me after I graduated from medical school, residency, until I realized diet was a big part of why I felt so bad. So now I have a couple of kids who are in college, and I try very hard to encourage them to eat better. But, if you're a parent, all you can do is encourage them and try to make life as simple as possible. This is pretty much non-perishable in a sense that you don't have to refrigerate it, but they don't have a way to cook it. And you don't have to cook it. You could just gnaw on this. It's not that pleasant. And they don't have a blender. They can't process it. So instead, I bought this. Okay. So this is their bag, capsules of ginger. This isn't a supplement. This is just like an herb. I mean, you can take apart this capsule and cook with it. To me, these are food because I grew up with these foods. And this brand is Nature's Way. I picked it after looking up how much gingerol was in these components, and plus the fact that Nature's Way, I heard a couple years back, there's all this controversy with supplements because you don't necessarily get what they say is on the label. But Nature's Way, I believe, vowed that they would guarantee what they say on the label is what they're giving you. So this is why I prefer to buy my ginger from Nature's Way. So honestly, sometimes I take this when I travel right before I get on a plane because I get really bad motion sickness. And especially, when the plane is going up and down in turbulence, that's really bad. Lots of times I'm just trying not to vomit. And I've always had this my whole life. Every time I went on a plane, a bus, a car, anything in which I'm not driving, I'm usually puking. And so I will take this to settle my stomach before I go in the car. This has tons of anti-inflammatory properties to prevent different kinds of discomforts, from migraines to headaches to PMSing and to my nausea. And so this is why I give my kids capsules, because to buy them this and give give it to them, I'm not sure they'll do anything with it. In fact, they sometimes tell me they're not going to do anything with it. Sometimes I will just buy food in a capsule form to make it easier for them. So the next item is what I do every day. And this is probably the number one food group that I've learned I need to eat every single day in order to be sharp, to have energy, and to have power to mitigate all the toxins that are in my life. I live in Southern California. Just breathing the air is toxic, right? I mean, if you've ever visited here and then you go someplace up in the mountains, like in Washington, oh my gosh, the air is night and day. So just inhaling is an issue, especially because I drive on the freeway. So in this bag, I have strawberries. And of course, strawberries go bad. So one way that I prevent strawberries from going bad is to wash it in some vinegar, because the vinegar will kill the fungus that's on it. All fruit, or basically all plants, have a layer of fungus on it. I mean, fungus is in the air. So when you inhale, you're probably inhaling some as well. And depending on your biology, you may be susceptible to infections if you're immunosuppressed, right? So this is why when you see fungus on your fruit or on your plant, on your bread, you don't want to aerosolize that fuzz, because that is what you're going to inhale and get things like pneumonia, sinus problems, or it can disseminate and go in other places in your body, in your spine, in your bone, in your brain. You know, I've seen all of it as an infectious disease physician. But strawberries, the thing with strawberries is if you don't wash it right away, it will tend to spoil fast, and you have to have a refrigerator. And so my kids, they don't want to wash things, and then they don't want to store things. You know, I don't even give them a whole lot of strawberries because I know they won't eat it. And because when I give them too much, it spoils, and they tell me it spoils. And these things aren't cheap. So these are organic strawberries. I have a local farmer that I buy strawberries from every week. They're delicious if you can buy organic. I always recommend people buy organic for fruit or produce that are difficult to clean, because, you know, I try not to get any pesticide residues. I think at the very least, pesticide residues, they change your gut microbiome. I definitely don't spray any of it. And strawberries are a part of the dirty dozen, in which they are highly sprayed because they're highly desired by not just us, but by bugs. So every week I eat some strawberries. Strawberries have been shown to help with esophageal dysplasia, meaning cells in the esophagus actually improve if you eat strawberries. And so the problem with the esophagus is that it's so close to acidic environment. So the esophagus is a tube right before your stomach, and people have reflux where, you know, the acid goes up. So if you eat and then you lay down, you're going to be more susceptible for reflux. If you have delayed gastric emptying, for example, if you eat fat or protein or taking medication like GLP-1 agonists, that delays gastric emptying. So that means your stomach contents are in your stomach longer, and it has more chances to go up your esophagus. And sometimes there's no symptoms. The problem is acid corrodes. It's not supposed to be in your esophagus. And if you corrode it, you know, if you wash it with acids, imagine like pouring acid or on your hand, right, every day, you would take off a layer of skin. And that's what people are doing when they have reflux. So the traditional way to deal with reflux is to take an antacid. I don't experience reflux. I don't know if I have reflux or not, because sometimes it's silent, but you know, I don't have any stomach issues or I don't have any pain. I've never seen a gastroenterologist. I mean, literally you have to have a camera go down your throat for them to see if you have damage from reflux. But personally, I don't think I have any because I don't feel any discomfort. But in case I do, I'm going to eat my strawberries. Okay, so they're packed with polyphenols. I've seen white strawberries in the market. For me, I don't understand why it's desirable, because, you know, the reason why I even eat strawberries is for this red color. So every food I eat, I want to make sure I pack it on with color, because this is what I'm after, the polyphenols. My kids, they have a difficult time with strawberries, and I'll show you a replacement a little bit later, but I have found a solution to fresh strawberry problem for them, because sometimes they just don't get around to eating it. I'm not quite sure why. Besides strawberries, I buy this on a weekly basis. This is wild blueberries. It's a giant pack, and I like wild blueberries because literally it says it has 2 times the antioxidant activity, right? My whole goal is to reduce inflammation, give my body the support that it needs to recover and heal. So blueberries is a must that I eat every week. So I make a shake with strawberries and blueberries because my kids won't eat this raw. I don't know why, right? Like I will eat any fruit, almost any fruit, you know, raw in its natural state, but they won't. So I have to blend it for them. And since I'm blending it for them, I just drink it too. Berries are actually the only thing I will blend because there's so many polyphenols. And polyphenols actually inhibit digestive enzymes. And somebody asked once, why would you want to do that? Don't you want to digest your food? Sure, I want to digest my food, but in the right time, right? I don't want all the food to be digested at once, because then I'm surging nutrients into my system and shocking the system. Yeah, I can slow it down by chewing it longer, but you're there like chewing forever. I don't have a lot of time to sit there forever and eat. So I depend on the rest of my gastrointestinal tract to like time it properly so that it doesn't shock the rest of my body, right? Because your GI tract is still outside of your body. But the blueberries, not only does it have polyphenols, but look at here. It actually has nutrition facts, which is not common for whole food. Right here, it says it has 6 grams of fiber, okay, for 1 cup. So that means I'm feeding my gut microbiome. And everything that I eat, I try to feed my gut microbiome. The reason why I like blueberries is because I'm at the age where any little motion, I can pull a muscle wrong. I try to work out every day. I'm either walking or I'm trying to like do a handstand now. I'm trying to do pull-ups. I do resistance training. So I do all those things and I'm stretching and stimulating my muscles, which you stretch it the wrong way, you can seriously damage it. And that's what really I'm doing when I exercise. I am slowly damaging my muscles and allowing it to repair. Because if you don't damage it, in a sense, then it can't grow and repair, right? That's what stress is. Stress does like gentle damage to our system, and then we can repair it. So I want to jumpstart that repair by giving it blueberries. There have been studies in athletes in which they exercise, then they're given blueberries or no blueberries. And the ones who are given blueberries recover faster. And that was actually proven on muscle biopsy. So there are many, many reasons to eat blueberries. And that's another reason why I make sure that I eat blueberries every day. So there's another reason why I buy frozen blueberries. And that's because sometimes when I buy fresh blueberries, it's not so sweet. So when I make my smoothies, they won't drink it. So I found that frozen blueberries are consistently sweet. And this is why I have this in my freezer all the time. For my kids, they don't have a freezer. They don't have a blender. They won't bring a hand blender. And there's so many obstacles preventing them from having blueberries around. Let me show you what else I have in my bag that I eat every week. I discovered that cherries are actually one of those things that can super sweeten any dessert. So I don't usually make desserts, but I consider my smoothie to be a dessert because it tastes so good. I realize that cherries really sweeten up the dessert so that if my strawberries are sour or if my blueberries are sour, then I'll put cherries in. This red color, it's divine. The whole cherry is red, right? So those polyphenols, those anthocyanins actually have been shown to help reduce uric acid levels. So people who have problems metabolizing and processing uric acid, because uric acid is basically a waste product. And when you accumulate it and you can't eliminate it properly, when you accumulate it too fast, then it precipitates. And it precipitates in your joints. It can precipitate in your skin. When it precipitates and clumps together, it forms like sharp needle-like crystals, in your body. So this is why when people have a gout attack, they're in so much pain. It's because their needles are stabbing their system, and then they have their immune system then comes and causes inflammation. And it draws in more blood, more liquid, more immune soldiers, and then you have this cascade of very difficult time for people. Cherries, if you eat it prophylactically, can help reduce that cascade and help reduce just the episodes of gouty attacks. I don't have gout. My family doesn't have gout, but I like to do things as a preventive way as opposed to trying to take care of it after it's happened. Generally, when you clean up a mess, it's more difficult than it is to prevent the mess. So cherries help me and my family to prevent those messy uric acid crystal buildups.
Hi, friends. I am so thrilled that you want to take charge of your health and take charge of your food. Now, I know nutrition can be complex, but it doesn't have to be. And I'm here to support you in this lifelong journey. So if you point your camera app to this QR code, it'll take you to a link for a free handout that I created just for you. And if you like it, if you want to see other handouts, please go to the link in my show notes, and then you can leave me your feedback on what I could do to help you in your journey. Okay, back to the video now.
The next thing that I have that I just love to eat are blackberries. Okay, so notice it's berry after berry after berry, because berries are the #1 most nutritious fruits per gram than other fruits because it's just packed with anthocyanins, it's packed with fiber, it's packed with little tiny seeds. All that means it has more nutrients. So whenever I can, I am just eating more and more berries, okay? And I like to eat a variety. And honestly, I could sit and eat like all of this in a day, but it just wouldn't be good for me because I wouldn't have room to eat other stuff. This is, again, organic, and I know organic can be expensive. I'm at the time of my life where, I would rather save on other things and spend on my food because I view food as medicine. So everything I eat has to have a purpose, and that purpose has to get me healthy. I'm long gone are those days where I just eat for fun. This is all fun for me, by the way, but now my fun is a different definition. And after I eat, I want to feel better. I don't want to be like in bed with a bloated stomach or throwing up in the toilet or this or that. So I aim for everything that will improve my health. The thing with berries, like I said, they're small. A lot of it needs to be handpicked so that they contain probably more germs. Sometimes they contain people germs. That's why, number one, I never eat them straight from the box. I always soak them in vinegar. I will wash and rinse even the frozen kind. There's nothing that I consider clean in my house. And I'm not a germaphobe. I just want to reduce my chances of getting food poisoning. One food poisoning bout can wipe out your lifetime of gut microbiome buildup, okay? That's number one. Number two, it can change your immune system, causing inflammation and then drive chronic inflammatory diseases like irritable bowel syndrome or arthritis, etc. My whole thing is I get plenty of germs just interacting with people and interacting with raw food. So my point is to minimize pathological germs since I don't know what is pathological or not. And really, you only need one colony to then multiply. I don't need to collect a whole bunch. So I just want to get the colony count down so that my own stomach, the gastric acid in my stomach, my own defenses can take over. That's my whole goal. So this is why I wash everything. I never eat anything raw. Never. I mean, I eat it raw, but it has to be clean and washed. So I would take this to vinegar and wash it. This is also another reason why I try to stick with produce from America. We have a lot of imports, especially in the winter. We're importing from other countries. If it's coming from a third world country, absolutely, I'm going to skip it because, unless it's cooked, I don't know how much pesticide they use. I don't know who's handling it. I don't know if they have the same criteria for handling food. Food handlers need to have certain precautions and not have outbreaks of medical conditions when they handle my food. It's almost like a healthcare worker, right? We're required to meet certain requirements before we can step in the hospital. Food handlers should meet those requirements too. And I don't know what requirements they are when they're not from the US. So this is why I stick to US grown berries because I can't scrub it. An apple is different. I mean, most of our apples come from Washington, but it's different when I can actually take my hand and scrub the food. I can't do it with berries. So this is another berry that I like to eat. I actually love these blackberries as is. Sometimes I will put it in smoothies, but the seed is a little hard in smoothies so that it just settles to the bottom. My kids won't eat this because the seeds get stuck in their teeth. I mean, people who aren't fruit people will come up with every single excuse not to eat it. I've always been a fruit person and I come up with every excuse to eat these things. So if they won't eat it, I still buy it. I will blend it in their smoothie or I'll just eat it myself. Okay, the next berry are these golden berries. These are actually gooseberries and I really love eating these. They have a different flavor than the other berries. They actually almost feel like tomatillos. I don't know if you've ever felt that. So they have like a waxy surface on the outside. I've seen like once somebody was making corn tortillas and they would soak the wrapping of the tomatillo. They would use that to bind their corn flour to make their corn tortillas. So I really like gooseberries. They're not commonly found, but whenever I see it, I will try to buy some gooseberries. They're a little bit tart and my kids are not going to eat the tart ones, right? I'd rather eat the sweet things, but I do know that oftentimes they won't eat this. So I will blend this as well. They're packed with antioxidants. And so these are just some of the berries that I like a lot. So I'm going to talk about next one. And this is only in season during the fall and they are cranberries. Okay. So they are also a bit tart. That's why people add sugar to it. Here is a recipe for holiday cranberry sauce, okay? So 2 cups of fresh cranberries And what do? They pack it with half a cup of pure apple juice, and they pack it with 3/4 cup of brown sugar and 1/4 teaspoon of ground allspice. Well, I have a better substitute for you if you're going to make cranberries for Thanksgiving. Instead of the brown sugar and the apple juice, why don't you just put real apples and dates? And then you just real apples and dates, and you cook that down. That will totally make a sweet fiber emulsion to then buffer the sourness of cranberries. And then it would be a whole food. It would actually be less sour because you have the fiber of the apple. So it's kind of like applesauce with the date. So apple and date sauce. It would be so much healthier than this holiday cranberry sauce. And that would be such an upgrade. I'm sure it'd be delicious. Put the allspice in, put more spices in. That will increase the anti-inflammatory power of whatever you're making. I was planning to just take this and just put a couple in the smoothie, just enough so that they don't quite taste the sourness. Cranberries were like one of my favorite things to eat in college. I mean, every day I would eat dried cranberries. I wouldn't eat fresh ones because they weren't around and they're actually pretty tart, but I would eat sour ones. And the problem with eating sour cranberries is that it wasn't really sour. It was sweet and sour, and it was sweetened with sugar. And so I was basically eating candy, fruit candy, but nevertheless, it was candy. And then I gravitated towards dried cranberries with no added sugar, but they put apple juice, they put fruit juice, which is essentially added sugar. It's just another way to add sugar without adding sugar. So I realized I can't eat any of those cranberries, and I just have to eat cranberries fresh and then make it myself and try to make it more palatable. So my brother, he actually cooks his cranberries with squash. Squashes are delicious. They're low glycemic index. They're a wonderful fruit. You usually can't eat those raw. I mean, I guess you can. It doesn't taste very good to me, and they're kind of hard to chew. But if you cook it down, it gets very, very soft and creamy. Some of them have potato-like creaminess or like a yam creaminess, like the kabocha squash. And if you cook your squash with cranberries, it'll be super delicious to eat with tons of phytonutrients and vitamins and minerals to increase your health. Like I said, these things are great for someone like me where, I have a fridge, I have a house, but my kids, they're busy. This is not their priority. So instead of eating frozen or fresh, which honestly I think is much better than what I'm going to show you, but this still works, although it's a little pricey. Okay. So I found this medley at Trader Joe's. It's organic freeze-dried berry medley with a blend of blueberries, strawberries, and raspberries. Okay. They've done a lot of studies in people looking at whether or not berries actually are effective. The strawberry study that I pointed out, they were just giving them freeze-dried strawberry powder. This is why it's an acceptable substitute for me, because freeze-dried fruits actually retain a lot of its polyphenol, antioxidant, anti-inflammatory ingredients, as opposed to eating it baked or cooked or dehydrated. This is what I prefer. Of course, fresh is best, like this. Then it's frozen, and then it's freeze-dried. These are like my preferences. So I will buy freeze-dried berries for my son just so that they get antioxidants. I don't know if they eat it. I can only try my best to supply it to them, and I hope they eat it. This is expensive stuff. This is one way in which it can be more convenient to get antioxidants. So I'm not done quite yet. There are some things in this bag that I eat and that I share with my kids because I just find them so beneficial, and they're also convenient to eat. Okay, so let me start. Number one is flax seeds. So I buy whole flax seeds. I will grind it for them and put them in a little bottle, and I hope they just sprinkle it on their food. I don't know if they do it or not, but that's my hope. Flax seeds are super good, packed with omega-3 alpha-linolenic acid. These alpha-linolenic acid needs to be converted in our bodies to omega-3. So it's important that we're not overloading on the omega-6 fats, which are also essential. So these fats are essential as well as omega-6 fats. But, in America, we have an omega-6 surplus because we're eating so much oils and fats that have omega-6. So that's why it's important to keep those down if you're trying to get your omega-3 fatty acid levels up. Well, every day I will eat this. And let me just tell you how many grams of protein it has. So 3 tablespoons of flax seeds gives you 6 grams of protein. So it's a great protein source. It's also a great soluble fiber source, so that if you're constipated, grind this up, put it in some water, and you can just eat it like that, or you can mix it, sprinkle it on your food. My mother-in-law, she's like in her 90s, and she sprinkles flaxseed in her breakfast oatmeal every day. She's in her 90s, and she's been doing that ever since I've known her. And she actually just buys the ground up powder. She always asks me to buy the ground up powder, as opposed to the whole flax seeds. But she consumes it quite quickly. And I think that's why it's okay for her to use the ground up powder. And I probably should do that for my kids. They may be more willing to use it if I, present it to them in a nice package. Okay, so that's flax seeds. Okay, so I have a few more things to show you. And as a mom, I'm always worried that my kids won't make the right choices in life. And of course, when it comes to health, if you don't eat the right foods and avoid the wrong foods, then you basically will suffer the consequences sometime in your life. All the foods that I buy for them are just trying to encourage them to add some antioxidants, anti-inflammatory ingredients. The more diversity, the better. So let me show you another powder that I really like. And that is the black raspberry powder. I recently discovered it. I really like this because it actually tastes delicious, but it also has more polyphenols and anti-inflammatory antioxidants than the blackberry. So I try to get my kids to eat this, but unfortunately, it's a powder and they don't like mess. I mean, to me, it seems like you just take a scoop and you put it in water and you drink it, but they won't do it. What I found were these little capsules, like these empty capsules where you can put different things in it. And so I asked my son if he'll just swallow it if I made capsules, and he said he would. And so I took his word for it. So I sat there and I scooped this powder into about 30 capsules, hoping that he'll just take one a day just to start off with. And I'm hoping that he'll get tired of the capsules and ask me for the powder stuff, because he needs more than one capsule to get the antioxidants I want him to get. But, one is better than nothing. So that's what I spent this weekend doing, because he wouldn't take a scoop of powder and put it in his water. It's just, teenagers. What can I say? And there's one more item. This is absolutely my favorite to give to my boys. And the reason why I like this is because it has 22 nutrients. Actually, it has more than 22 nutrients. It has both individual nutrients as well as extracts, concentrated antioxidants, and anti-inflammatory agents. Okay, so let me read to you some of them. Turmeric extract. So in case I give them the spice, but if they won't eat the spice, but at least if they take one of these a day, they get some turmeric. Elderberry extract. Elderberry is kind of difficult to eat fresh. It's not advised because it has to be processed appropriately. So this is one of those fruits that is worth buying already processed. Mushrooms, cordyceps. Cordyceps are so beneficial and it's not commonly sold in the stores. So that's why I wanted to make sure that they got some mushroom every day, some beta glucans. Those are excellent for energy. Grapeseed extract. It's so hard to find grapeseed these days. And when I would find grapes with seeds, they'd spit out the seeds. I mean, that is the most nutrient dense part, but they don't want to break their teeth. I mean, you could take it out and just grind it up, but that would be an extra step for them. Quercetin. Quercetin is in a variety of different fruits and other plants, like apples and onions. And quercetin is so good. It is one of those anti-inflammatory nutrients that I think is beneficial for our immune system. Green tea. In case they don't drink their cup of green tea, I give them green tea. In case they don't drink it, I have some green tea extract. Bromelain is from pineapple. So it's a concentrated enzyme from pineapple. Usually when I buy pineapple, they barely eat any of it. They complain that it makes their mouth feel weird. So I usually end up eating all the pineapple that I cut. And pomegranate extract. Pomegranate is difficult for my kids to eat because, it's kind of messy, little tiny seeds. So whenever I buy a pomegranate, if I don't take it apart, they're not going to take it apart. And diversity is really what I'm trying to get for them, to increase their antioxidant power to support their immune system. I mean, especially as a student, you're always stressed out from time management to going from this class to that class and living on campus. They don't really have a lot of good options. And in their particular school, a lot of their food is catered by restaurants or fast food companies. And that's not exactly my idea of a healthy lifestyle. So I hope this was helpful. There's one more item that I forgot to bring, and that is black cumin. And so if you want to learn more about that, watch the next video.